What's up, Z.E.R.T Nation? Instructor Fields here. Welcome to Vehicle Tactics Week. What's up, Z.E.R.T Nation? Let's talk about firearm safety on conventional ranges, flat ranges where I'm shooting in one direction. When we look at all of our training and what we're doing on the range to prepare for the real world, we have to understand certain things that happen on the range versus what happened in the real world. One of my personal techniques is understanding what is downrange. Downrange isn't necessarily the target. Downrange actually is everything that's in the front of my muzzle. So if I point this gun in this direction or in this direction, downrange is still whatever's in front of my muzzle. Because when you're in the parking lot at the shopping center and you're coming out with your groceries, you have a 360 degree environment. What we have to understand from that is if I'm training on a flat range and then I come to the next evolution of training in a 360 degree environment, I get to operate from a mental standpoint in a real world setting. We're getting a lot of questions on the vehicle tactics class on the best way to move from point A to point B. After these two guys get done engaging their targets, they're going to need to move to the trunk of their vehicle. For all of our Z.E.R.T Nation members, law enforcement brothers and contractors that are out there that keep vital items in their car before they ditch the vehicle. The best way to do that, to move from point A to point B, is to orient your body in the direction you're going and move naturally. Guys, go ahead and come out. Jeff moves back. So what we just demonstrated here is Steph turned and walked naturally from point A to point B, while Jeff moved backwards, scanning left to right. Two different techniques of many different techniques on how to exit a vehicle and move from point A to point B. All right, so we're going to break that down a little further for you. What's going to happen is the passenger is going to come out of the vehicle and move to the trunk first, while the driver is pulling security to the front of the vehicle. The passenger gets out of the vehicle. As he's moving to the rear of the vehicle, is pulling security to the rear of the vehicle. Simultaneously, the driver is still looking forward. Now that the passenger is in position, he can give the command set, and then the driver can move from point A to point B. Go ahead and move, driver. All right, so let's talk about communication. We want it to be clear, concise, and normal, and short and to the point. Three different things there. We want it to be clear and concise. The difference between no and go under high audible conditions and high stress conditions. If I'm yelling at you, no, 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 you might think I'm saying go, go, go. It's a very normal term to confuse. We want to use the minimal amount of words with the most amount of effect. So if I'm trained and training with my Z.E.R.T members or my law enforcement or contract brethren, and all I have to give is one word and he understands what that means, set, as the man that's pulling security, then the man that's moving understands that all he has to reply with is one word, moving. Steph, give set.
Set. Moving.
So we used two words, one word each, no conversation. They were clear, they were concise, they were understood, and not to be confused under stress or high audible stressful conditions. All right, let's talk about situations that would require us to dismount a vehicle. So this vehicle is disabled for whatever reason. We crashed it, somebody crashed into us, it got shot up, whatever the case, we got to leave this vehicle. One of the reasons we would want to leave the vehicle is because typically vehicles become bullet magnets. If I know you're in and around the vehicle, all I got to do is start shooting at the vehicle, at least just to keep you in place. So what we want to do is displace from the vehicle. When do we do that? When do we put our seatbelt on, off? When do we unholster our gun? When do we shoot from the vehicle, out of the vehicle? And when do we exit the vehicle? Are all dictated on the situation. Sometimes you might leave your seatbelt on, draw your vehicle and shoot out the window. then get your seatbelt off and open the door. Sometimes you might get out from the vehicle, then draw your gun and engage. The situation all dictates in when you need to present your weapon and discharge it, which are two different things. All right, now we're going to talk about exiting the vehicle. One of the first things we must do is remove the seatbelt. Always remember to remove your seatbelt before attempting to exit the vehicle. How we're going to do that is two different techniques. Chris here is going to sweep from the shoulder down. So he's going to grab the seatbelt from the shoulder and go down to the buckle and disengage the seatbelt. The second part is Evan is going to sweep his leg. Starting from his knee, he's going to trace his leg down to the seatbelt buckle and disengage the seatbelt. These are a couple of different techniques in how to disengage the seatbelt before attempting to exit the vehicle. The reason that we're talking so much about removing the seatbelt before exiting the vehicle is because under high-stress situations, we forget to do simple things, such as take off your seatbelt or remove your comms from your helmet before exiting the helicopter or under high-stress situations when you're being shot at. All right, so let's talk about drawing from a seated position inside of a vehicle before you exit the vehicle. If you do not have a vehicle to train out of on a flat range, you could be as simple as sitting on a chair and still mimic the same movements. So Steph here is going to draw from his holster without moving as if he was seatbelted into his car. So you're going to mimic the same movements just from a regular chair on the range, or if you do have the fortunate ability to have a vehicle on the range, you can practice that way too. So Chris is going to go ahead and reach down and draw his pistol as well. So a couple additional movements with some additional restriction inside the vehicle from a seatbelted drawing position versus sitting on the chair. But at the same time, you're still getting this abnormal platform to draw from while in a seated position that does give you some similarity from drawing inside of a vehicle. And most importantly, you can do this while at home with a dry gun. Make sure your gun is clear. You can sit at your kitchen table and start practicing drawing from concealment as though you were in a vehicle. All right, now we're going to discuss engaging your target through the windshield and safely exiting the vehicle and removing your seatbelt restraint. So Chris is going to go ahead and safely draw from the holster, engage his target through the windshield. Once his engagement is over, with his support hand, he's going to reach up to his shoulder, trace the seatbelt down to the buckle, disengage the buckle. Then, without flagging himself, he's going to reach across his body, ditch the seatbelt, open the door, and also unlock it if necessary. With support side leg, he's going to pin the door open so the door doesn't collapse back on you. Then, moving his weapon in a safe direction, he's going to begin exiting the vehicle by planting his leg out of the vehicle, swinging his other leg out of the vehicle, now pointing his weapon in a safe direction down to the ground or up in the air, depending on the situation. He's going to stand up out of the vehicle and move to the rear of the vehicle. Now he's going to turn, pull coverage to the front because that's where the greatest threat was from, yell set,
Set.
and now the driver is going to do the same. All right, now we're going to discuss the driver safely drawing his weapon, engaging a target, getting out of his seatbelt restraint, and exiting the vehicle. With your seatbelt on, draw your weapon safely without flagging any part of your own body, coming up over the steering wheel, engaging your target. When your engagement is over, with your support hand, I want you to trace down your leg to the buckle, disengage the seatbelt, remove the seatbelt. With your support hand, reach over, unlock the door, open the door. With your support side leg, pinning the door so it doesn't collapse back on you. Placing your support side leg, foot on the ground. After you place your support side leg on the ground, keeping your muzzle in a safe direction, either up or down, rotate your strong side leg over to the ground. Stand up. Orient your body to the rear of the vehicle. All right, let's talk about access in the trunk. A few things for consideration before you leave the driver's seat is your car and its configuration. Do you have a key fob trunk pop? Do you have a button or a latch that you pull? Or do you need to bring your keys with you if you're driving an older car? So if your vehicle is down, let's say the batteries are out, are you actually going to be able to hit a button? Are you on a cable latch? Are you in an older car that you have to use keys? Or is your key fob still going to work if the battery is disabled? So these are all things to take into consideration when accessing your trunk in a state of emergency. So let's talk about storage of firearms and other mission essential equipment in the trunk. Transporting your firearms, depending on what state you're in or what country you're in, so your local laws apply. Here, what we're training on is whether you're carrying a rifle to the range or your law enforcement, contractor, or anything like that. So there are multiple purposes of reasons for us putting together this configuration. One of which being quick access, so a rifle without a bag. So you're going to be able to grab the rifle, then grab the magazine and put it into operation right then and there. The second being a go bag with my rifle inside. Some rifles need to be broken down in some bags. Some bags are big enough to take a full-size rifle. So you got to check your manufacturer for the size of the total length from muzzle to buttstock before you buy the bag. This allows me to take all of my equipment, whether it be medical, armor, night vision, weapons, ammo, to my point of safety wherever I'm going. All right, so obviously best case scenario is that I've got everything in one bag. And again, local laws apply, so you might not be able to have mags loaded, but you can have box of ammo next to mags. But you might not be able to have mags in the same bag, whatever the situation may be. So you may have two bags, but you can still attach them together. So I grab one bag with one strap, and everything goes. Communication, chargers, medical gear, water, food, whether I need a GPS, medicine, anything that I need goes with me in one grab of the bag. And again, even if I'm in a state that doesn't allow ammo to be loaded in mags and ammo to be co-transported, I can take a go bag out of the front seat and still attach it to this, and now I put everything back in one bag on the move. If you find yourself in a non-permissive or hostile environment, or an environment that has turned non-permissive or hostile, different carrying configurations for carrying your long gun in the driving compartment with you. The idea here is you don't want it to be visible from plain sight if somebody's looking in the window or in the windshield or cameras or anything like that. But you want it accessible. Accessible meaning I can take my hand and put it on my gun somewhere. I'm not going to put it on the left side of my body because if I open the door, the first thing somebody's going to see is my gun. So I'm going to put it on my right side of my body. And if I'm on the passenger side, again, I'm going to keep it towards the center console so that way when I open the door, I don't have to step over it. And it's also not visible from when you see it from when we open the door. I'm an advocate of round in the chamber, always, because that's how you use the gun. So you put a round in the chamber, put it on safe, and you either put it in a carry bag or cover it with something, a shirt or anything like that, so it's not visible again, easily recognizable or identifiable. So how do you get out of a car safely without muzzling yourself with a long gun? Rail. With my support hand, I'm going to grab the rail of the gun, so I have control over the gun. This leaves my firing hand for driving, running the gears, opening the door, unlocking it, rolling down the window, support hand for the gun, whatever, pistol, whatever I got to do. Got my hand on the long gun, I'm ready to exit the vehicle. So all I'm going to do is bring it up to me, still weapon in a safe direction, and I can either shoot from here, or I can go over the shoulder and shoot from here, or then I can go over the shoulder and get out of the vehicle and place it into operation. All right, so we're going to talk clearing the dash with the muzzle with the long gun. So in order to keep my muzzle from hitting the dash and impeding my movement with the long gun if I'm shooting out of the glass, the front windshield, or off to the side, I've got to clear the dash of clear the muzzle of the dash. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is bring the stock over my shoulder. So I've got full mobility of my weapon system inside the vehicle, still within a relatively confined space. So I can either engage through the glass, or I can maneuver and engage out the side, simultaneously getting out of the car. All right, a couple additional tips. We got hide over bore, so if I'm down low shooting my rifle, I don't want to shoot through my dash, I want to shoot through the windshield. So I bring the stock up over my shoulder, getting down low. I want to make sure that my sights and my barrel are up over the dash. So I need to come up a little bit higher in my seat, which is going to expose me over the windshield a little bit, but at least I'm putting effective fire down range. Another additional tip, just like getting out of the car with pistol, I've got muzzle discipline. I'm also pinning the door with my foot so it doesn't slam back on me. So with muzzle discipline, coming up over my body, not flagging any part of my body, and now I'm safely putting the weapon into operation in a 360-degree manner. And again, everything downrange is exactly. So now we're going to talk about close. Go. What? Start. Are you ready? All right, I'm leaving.
Now.
And to you, Rob.
Back to you, Rob.
Yep.
And back.
Now we're going to talk about closing the doors or leaving them open. Are you in a hard car, basically an armored car, or a thin-skin car, which for most of us, a thin-skin car? Are you staying in the car, leaving the car, and are you being shot at? So basically being shot at means you don't have a lot of time to really make a decision. You just go. You don't have to worry about closing the door. Armored car, closing them could be a form of cover for you. Thin-skin car, you've got to consider that your actual cover is going to be more your engine block and transmission, which is a very small part of the car. So the general idea is get away from the car if you don't have to stay with it for whatever reason. Cars generally are considered bullet magnets. So if I just have to shoot at the car to affect your behavior, that's good enough until I get a point of domination on you and then finish. So if we leave the trunk open, what does that do? If I'm running away, maybe a little bit of concealment. If I'm being shot at, do I care about the trunk? No, I return fire and get out of there. The doors, if I leave the door open or close it. If I'm getting out of the driver's side here and this door is in my way, yeah, I can move through it and close the door versus taking the extra time to go around the door and then back to the trunk or wherever my point of destination is. The other thing that we've got to consider is what type of material is your car? Is it going to deflect around? Is it going to stop around? Is it going to fragment around? Is it going to be any type of cover or concealment for you? Or is it just going to get in your way if you want to return fire back over the hood?